Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews, an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 15 years now, we've been asking the Frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Kaitlynn Caster of Pizza Guys. And Kaitlynn Caster left her college education behind to run her very own Pizza Guys franchise. From humble beginnings as a single pizza restaurant in 1986, Pizza Guys has become a recognized leader in the pizza industry. We're going to talk to Kaitlynn about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach. Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system. Coach. Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed. Consult. Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track. And advise. Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032. That's franchiseteacher.com. Or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 15 years now, we've been asking the Frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. Well, we're meeting with Kaitlynn Caster of Pizza Guys, and Kaitlynn left her college education behind to run her very own Pizza Guys franchise. And from its humble beginnings as a single pizza restaurant in 1986, Pizza Guys has become a recognized leader in the pizza industry. Hi, Kaitlynn. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, Kaitlynn. It's great to have you on the show. You know, you wouldn't know this, Kaitlynn. I've been doing the show now for about 15 years. I've done 800 podcasts. And I have to say, I think you're the youngest guest we've ever had on the show. So I wanted to thank you for coming on the show. I was really so excited.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. So, I thought, maybe, we could jump right into it, Kaitlynn. Maybe you could talk a little bit about, like, what inspired you to become a franchisee.
So I was really around it my entire life. Mm-hmm. My dad has been a franchisee for over 25 years, I would say.
Wow.
Never really thought of it as something I would do. But of course, I'll get into it later, the college part. But just seeing how awesome Pizza Guys is. They're so innovative. They're so, they are always keeping up with the new trends. And me being so young, like I can see it firsthand.
Right.
So what inspired me is just knowing that Pizza Guys follows through with every generation. And it's always successful. Yeah.
That's great. So it's almost like, I guess, Pizza Guys, I mean, you kind of knew. I mean, like, you knew you wanted to be, or you had this idea of, being a franchisee, Kaitlynn. So it sounded like, I guess, Pizza Guys was probably an obvious choice, right? Because there are other types of franchises out there. There's pizza franchises, there's burger franchises, and then there's all these different brands. So it just seemed like Pizza Guys must have been an obvious choice, wasn't it?
Yes, very obvious. I did think about other franchisees when I was in college. However, just, reality hit me, and it's like, wow, like I do love Pizza Guys.
Right.
It's in my family.
Yes.
So why not? Why not just take the leap and go with them? Yeah.
Right. I get the feeling when, reading about your story, Kaitlynn, because I was reading about your background. I imagine it sounded like you had a lot of support from your family, didn't you? Or even friends, probably.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. My family supported me really in anything I did. So like the whole college experience, they basically said, go do what you need to do and try it out. And when I realized it didn't work out for me, it wasn't like I was failing at something.
Right.
It was more like, okay, well, let's try something new and let's try something different.
Right.
And my parents really supported me on that, and my boyfriend as well.
That's terrific. When did you, the big question, Kaitlynn, I guess everyone's wondering, you started your college career, when did you decide, I mean, was there a moment that you just said, college is not for you? Like, how did you come to that very big decision?
So when I did go to college, I went to San Francisco State University, and I lived there, and, living in the city can get quite expensive, pricey.
Sure.
I did have to find a job. And prior to moving, I was working at Pizza Guys, as well as another like serving waitress job. And just knowing that it takes a lot of money to be there in San Francisco, and I had no degree yet. Like I had no major that I wanted to do. I just knew something about business.
Right.
And I've always been really good at school and loved school. And then it just hit me one day like, hey, maybe I don't need this college education. I've seen my dad in front of my eyes be so successful without one as well, that it kind of was like, you know what, let's try it.
That's one. It's a powerful story, Kaitlynn. What were maybe then you could talk about because I always describe the franchise process as once someone decides they want to get into franchising, Kaitlynn, it's kind of like it's a journey. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your journey and like maybe some of the like challenges or hardships that you kind of faced along the way.
Yeah. So my dad, when I just did decide to come back to my hometown, he offered me, like almost like a 5-year plan, like, hey, you should be a manager for this amount of time, and this time will give you all these obstacles that you can face. And I am so grateful for that, because as much as I wanted to, jump into it and be a franchisee and be an owner so young, I am so grateful that, I took the time and I went through all those obstacles. The main one, I would say, is COVID. COVID was a huge one.
Yes.
Pizza Guys was already takeout delivery, so we were, very successful during COVID. But the backside of that was being an essential worker during that time and having to, deal with all these new safety precautions and, quarantine time, all this stuff. That was pretty hard. That was one of the hard challenges.
Oh, yeah.
And, nobody's faced something like that before, ever, really. I mean, the pandemic, and especially being like a manager of a business with a whole crew of, employees and having to worry about their safety and the customer safety on top of being extra busy because, people want to stay home, they want to order out. So that was something that really opened my eyes with Pizza Guys to show me, they do care about their people and also their customers, and it just made being during a pandemic, it made it feel so, like we're doing our part So that was one of the challenges that I did face. Also, another challenge would be, being so young. I started being a manager when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
So, of course, I do have employees that are older than me.
Right.
And so having to, become or be that authority figure was a little bit of a challenge. I had to kind of learn my own ways of, coping with that. Right. And now I feel like I have the confidence to do it. Obviously, I am older, but it was a big, challenge I had to face.
Wonderful. It's a great response. How about the time commitment? I mean, and this, Kaitlynn, again, you have the advantage of, of course, seeing your dad, but I mean, it is a huge time commitment. How did you handle that big responsibility?
Number one is always having my phone on me. I would say having technology like this really makes this job, it's at your hands at all times.
Yeah.
But, I'm so young, and I feel like when you're young, you want to, start your career. So I don't have a family yet. Obviously, that's something I want in my future. Yeah. But right now, I'm just trying to focus on my goals. So I'm basically investing in myself right now and just putting all my time into my career and this business. So
that's great.
All my time pretty much goes here. Yeah.
Right. That's wonderful. What maybe you could talk about, what is, if there is such a thing, Kaitlynn, of a typical day for you?
So I would say every day is pretty much different. I do have routine things that I have to do, but the job wouldn't be fun if I was doing the same thing every single day.
Right.
So I bounce between multiple different stores. And I get to see and talk to different crews every day, different volumes between stores, and just basically different customers, different towns. One location I'm in is, really involved in the community, and then the one that I own is a college town. So I get to see firsthand, different volumes and the ways the community is. So I basically just, go in, do all the, office work and stuff like that. But my number one thing that I like to do is, conversate with the employees and get to their level a little bit and try to be, a boss that I would want to have.
Sure.
And then, of course, make tons of pizzas all day long. So, that's pretty much my day. Yeah.
The majority of our listeners, Kaitlynn, we call them aspiring entrepreneurs or frantrepreneurs. Actually, they're individuals who they have it in their mind that that one day they want to own their own franchise. I mean, from everything you've learned up to this point, what skills would you say are needed to be a successful franchise owner?
I would say the first one would be organization. Organization's a good one. As long as you keep everything organized, everything should have an easy flow to it. And also just don't ever give up, because there will be times that you face challenges where you're like, man, this is tough. Is it worth it? Or you may second guess yourself, but in the end, it's all worth it. And when the right time comes, it'll come. And you just have to go through obstacles. And I think that's what makes franchisee owners good owners, because they face all these things firsthand and hands-on too, like customers, pizzas, all these different things that you wouldn't think about until you actually get into a store and work. So I would say just, organization, a lot of communication is always the key for, honestly, any relationship, and, relationship with your business as well. Those are the two main things. And have fun.
And have fun. Wow, that's powerful too. I like that you mentioned that, because that is so important, isn't it? I could sense, reading about you and talking to you today for the first time is that you really enjoy it. I think that's so important. So you might get this question, from other interviews you've done in the past, Kaitlynn. But how do you think your young age has influenced your, let's say, your work ethic, or even your managing style?
So social media is, the new big thing right now. And I feel like as long as you are, up to date with how high tech things are getting, it really will benefit, the type of people you have working for you, the way your business is out there. I think social media has a huge impact on my generation for sure.
Right.
That, this is the new advertising, this is the new marketing, this is the new, things. There's Yelp, there's, ratings that we can get on different websites. So I feel like it's made me just always look for new, tech ways or new ways of implementing new things. Like, I'm not sticking to the book every single day. Like corporate is too. Corporate definitely, is out there looking for new ways to implement new things in the business. And I feel like being so young, I can kind of see what would work, what wouldn't, just because I see, my young group and just see what would work and what wouldn't. So being so young, it's like I have such an more open mind, I feel like.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Kaitlynn. It's interesting how many of, the different, let's say the older age cohorts, whether it's baby boomers or Generation X, that's so many of them are so intimidated by social media. And what you're saying is you're open to it. You love it, right? I mean, it makes your life easier, And it seems to me that, it's almost like that maybe, younger people like yourself even have, somewhat of an advantage, because, you're open to all these changes and you embrace technology, and I think that's so wonderful. What's been a motivating factor within your goals, your aspirations as a franchisee, Kaitlynn?
I would say being my own boss, working for myself. That's something that, everybody wants to do. You don't necessarily have a dream of having somebody above you. So working for yourself, making your own schedule, having your own team, that's the main factor for me, just because it's something that would make me happy, and it does make me happy knowing that, this is my team that I created. We're developing new people, and this is the business that I own. And, aside from that is Pizza Guys gives back to the community in tons of ways during, different types of situations, and that is very fulfilling to me because, I've always been a social person. So I feel like the community has a number one role in this business. And then also our staff and our employees is something that I really enjoy dealing with. So
that's wonderful. That's terrific.
Yeah.
What's the big picture, Kaitlynn? I mean, if I could ask you to look into, maybe a crystal ball, whether it's a year or 3 years or 5 years down the road, what are your future plans as a franchisee with Pizza Guys?
I would like to potentially own more locations.
Wow, that's great.
And have different teams. Yeah, I definitely don't want to settle for just one location. I want to build the business. I want to build Pizza Guys and help build it because I know we're constantly expanding, and I know this business can be huge. So I want to help do that, and I feel like I have a lot of time, a lot of time ahead of me to do so, and I'm already have the advantage so young that I feel like I can really help, and I can definitely just get a lot more stores and be more successful.
I mean, it's exciting, Kaitlynn, is that you're thinking beyond, one franchise unit, because, a lot of times people, they're content with the one franchise unit, and that's fine, but I had a gentleman on my show, I would say it was about 10 years ago, Kaitlynn, and I remember him telling me this story. He barely graduated from high school. I think they just wanted to get rid of him, so they gave him D's across the board. And this gentleman, he ended up owning, I think it was 40 Wendy's franchises. And I said, oh my God.
Oh wow.
I said, that's amazing. And it's just, I think it's exciting for you, that you want to be a multi-unit franchisee. I think that's going to be an exciting experience for you too, because managing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then it kind of changes the job role, I guess, a little bit too for you, doesn't it? Because then you're the manager, you're the leader, and I think that's very exciting, isn't it?
Yes, very exciting. You get to develop your own team. And just, it's awesome. Yeah.
That's terrific. What advice, I was mentioning to you earlier, Kaitlynn, again, the majority of our listeners, most of them are in the, let's say, the market for buying a franchise. They're kind of like in the research stage. I mean, from everything you've learned up to this point, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to become a franchise? Because there's so much out there today. Most of our listeners, I think in the beginning phases, they're confused. They're like, okay, there's like 3,000 different types of franchises. There's all these different brands. Right. Where do I even begin? And you had this advantage of being kind of like on the inside. So from everything you've learned up to this point, what advice would you give to our listeners?
Just find something that makes you happy. You want to choose a, job that you like going to work every day. You enjoy doing it. You want to give it your all, and you want to go above and beyond. So I would never settle for something to where, it's like, oh, I guess I'll choose this one. Right. It's more just like keep researching and find one that really, covers all the bases that you're looking for. And if you really love it and you put your mind to it, your business will be successful.
That's wonderful. What's the best way for our listeners, Kaitlynn, to get more information, whether it's on you or whether it's on like Pizza Guys? Are there any like websites you can kind of maybe direct them to for more information?
Yeah, so we have our website. It has careers on it for, developing franchisees, pizzaguys.com. And then we also have our corporate office that you can always call and speak to somebody.
That's fantastic. Well, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking to you today, Kaitlynn. It's been a real privilege for me. I've been excited to interview you for weeks now. So to finally have the chance to get to speak to you, it's a real honor. And I would really like to invite you back, over the next year, and maybe we can get your dad on the show too.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
That would be fantastic. Well, it was great to talk to you today, Kaitlynn, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? Franchise Interviews, an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com. Or you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Today's Great Quote in Franchising is being brought to you by
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-0000. 3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com, or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and during that time, we've had some incredible quotes on our show. Today, you're going to get to hear from Nick Friedman, who is the founder of College Hunks Hauling and Junk and Moving Franchise Opportunity. And Nick said something really quite brilliant on our show that we haven't heard in over a decade of doing franchise interviews. We started speaking about the 4 F's of franchising, and interesting enough, we ended up with 5 F's of franchising as we were doing the interview with Nick. And, you know, in marketing, we talk about the 4 P's of marketing, which is product, price, promotion, and place. So I thought this was really brilliant what Nick said. So here we go with Nick Friedman, the founder of College Hunks Hauling and Junk Moving Franchise Opportunity.
History.
What, you know, the majority of our listeners, we call them, Nick, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs. What types of characteristics do you look for in your franchisees?
You know, what I like to say is there's 4 F's when considering a franchise, which is also, I guess, starts with a letter F. So, you know, there's 4 F's that come out of franchise. And I think this is what a prospective franchise should think of when they're considering what franchise they want to pursue. And this is, quite frankly, I think what franchisors should consider when they're evaluating a prospective franchisee. So the first F is fit. You know, do they fit? In other words, do they have transferable skills that can make them effective at this business? Have they done anything in their prior professional or personal lives that would make them be successful in this type of business? The second piece is the family side. In other words, does their family support them in them pursuing this endeavor, whether it's their husband or wife or kids or parents? You know, do they believe in them? Because you don't want things to get tough in their inner circle to say, I told you so. You want them to, you know, kind of cheer them on to get through it. The financial piece is important. In other words, are they capitalized to be able to invest in the opportunity, and do they have realistic financial expectations? And then the last F is the fun factor. You know, can we have fun working with this individual? You know, franchising is very much like a partnership, even though that's not typically called that. So you got to have, you know, an alignment of vision and values to be able to enjoy working together. So that's really what we look for. You know, we want people that believe in the secret sauce that we've already developed. We don't want somebody to come tell us that they think it should be done differently. We want them to tell us that they believe in what we've created. And sure, we would, you know, want to continuously improve and encourage ideas, but not, you know, we want folks that believe in the system and are going to execute the system rather than trying to shortcut success by doing it, you know, doing it their own way. And I think that's, you know, really no different in our system than any other franchise model that is going to be successful long term. They need to really take into account those factors.
That's great, Nick. We have this great quotes in franchising podcast. Anytime we hear, you know, Michael Gerber's been in there a couple of times, but we're going to put that one in there because I haven't heard that in over a decade, and I think that's great advice to our listeners. It's really fantastic because it's true. I mean, you could really, your business, you could teach to anybody, couldn't you? I mean, pretty much, you know. But you know, it's interesting in putting those factors in there, you know, like family support, you know, and even fun. I haven't heard that, you know, but it should be an enjoyable business, and you know, because it is a stressful situation for the customers, I guess you got to be able to put a smile on your customer's face, don't you?
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, as you know, there's over 3,000 franchise opportunities out there. So, you know, what's going to separate one from the other? It's got to be something that you can enjoy. And I guess I'll grab another F out of there. I'm on a roll here. Fulfillment. You know, is it something that, you know, we're going to be fulfilled doing day in and day out? Because I think franchising is a lot like a gym membership. You know, if you join a gym and you've got fitness goals, you're getting access to all types of equipment, personal trainers, coaches, workout groups, but you still got to go and show up and do the work. So if you buy a franchise, you're getting access to the business model in a box. You're getting access to trainers, coaches, you know, fellow franchisees that you can, you know, hold each other accountable with, but you still got to show up and put in the effort to execute that business model. So that's where I think those factors come into play.
Once you decide that, you know, you do like them, you know, and they like you, Nick, you know, and there is a fit, you know, what is the training like? I mean, do they typically come to Florida for training? How does that work? If you'd like to hear that whole interview with Nick Friedman of the College Hunks Hauling and Junk Moving franchise opportunity, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com, go to our franchise interviews by category page, and then go to our home repair and improvements page, and you'll be able to listen to that whole show with Nick Friedman. It was really a fantastic interview. It was great to finally have Nick on the show. And lastly, we'd just like to thank everyone for making this podcast such a big hit. It's hard to imagine. We've been doing it now over 10 years, and it's just amazing to see where the podcast has gone. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, sponsored by Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.